Americans drink roughly 400 million cups of coffee every single day. The vast majority of those cups are being consumed in ways that are quietly making blood sugar problems worse, not better. And almost nobody talks about this because the coffee industry is enormous, the pharmaceutical industry has its own solutions to sell, and the small evidence-based intervention that genuinely helps your blood sugar is buried under decades of conflicting marketing. I want to walk you through something that has been hiding in plain sight for years. Coffee, prepared and consumed in a specific way, has been demonstrated in published research to meaningfully improve insulin sensitivity, reduce post-meal glucose spikes, and lower long-term diabetes risk in adults over 60. Not by a small amount, by a clinically significant margin, but the way most people drink their coffee actively cancels out every benefit and creates new problems on top. This is the paradox of coffee and blood sugar. The same beverage that can help your metabolism can also harm it, depending entirely on what you put into the cup when you drink it and what you eat alongside it. The coffee itself is the ingredient. The protocol around it is the medicine. Hit subscribe and the like button before we continue. This information is the kind your appointments do not have time to cover. The system that prescribed your metformin is not going to follow up with a 20-minute conversation about your morning beverage. That is what this channel exists for. A medical caveat before we begin. If you are currently on insulin, sulfonylureas like glipizide or glyburide, or any medication that aggressively lowers blood sugar, do not change your coffee habits without first letting your doctor know. The intervention I am about to describe can produce measurable improvements in your glucose levels within days. If your medication doses are not adjusted accordingly, you can drop your blood sugar too low. The fix is medical supervision, not avoidance of the protocol. Now let me show you exactly what is happening biologically and how to use it to your advantage. The active compounds first. Coffee contains far more than caffeine. It contains chlorogenic acids, polyphenols, trigonelline, and a category of compounds called diterpenes. Each of these has a different effect on your metabolism. Chlorogenic acids slow the absorption of glucose from your intestine into your bloodstream. Polyphenols improve insulin signaling at the cellular level. Trigonelline has been shown to enhance pancreatic beta cell function. These compounds are why decades of population studies have found that regular coffee drinkers have measurably lower rates of type 2 diabetes than non-drinkers. The catch is that those benefits are dose-dependent and protocol-dependent. The right cup at the right time gives you the full benefit. The wrong cup at the wrong time can spike your blood sugar, increase cortisol, and make insulin resistance worse. Most people are drinking the wrong cup. Let me give you the protocol. The first principle: what you put in the cup. The single biggest mistake people make with coffee and blood sugar is what they add to it. A standard sweetened coffee shop drink can contain 30 to 60 grams of sugar in a single serving. That is more sugar than is in a can of soda. Drinking coffee with that much sugar does not give you the metabolic benefits of coffee. It gives you the metabolic damage of a soft drink wearing a coffee disguise. Even at home, the spoonful of white sugar, the flavored syrup, the sweetened creamer, all of these neutralize the chlorogenic acid benefit and add a fast-absorbing glucose load on top. Your blood sugar rises, your insulin response is forced. The cup you thought was helping you is the cause of the spike. Remove from your coffee white sugar, brown sugar, honey added in significant amounts, maple syrup, flavored syrups of any kind, coffee creamers labeled vanilla, hazelnut, caramel, or any flavor profile that suggests sweetness, sweetened condensed milk. The sugar-free creamers are not necessarily better because many contain artificial sweeteners that recent research links to disrupted glucose tolerance even though they contain no calories. What goes in the cup instead? A small amount of unsweetened heavy cream or full-fat milk if you want richness, no more than 2 tablespoons. Cinnamon, particularly Ceylon cinnamon, has its own published evidence for improving insulin sensitivity and pairs well with coffee. A small amount of unsweetened cocoa powder adds polyphenols that complement coffee's existing compounds. If you genuinely cannot drink it black, those are the additions that preserve the benefit. The second principle, the timing. When you wake up, your body produces a natural cortisol spike that lasts roughly the first 60 to 90 minutes after waking. Cortisol, your stress hormone, is also a glucose-raising hormone. It pulls sugar out of your liver into your bloodstream to give you the energy to start your day. This is normal physiology. Drinking coffee on top of that cortisol surge stacks two glucose-raising signals at the same time. Your morning blood sugar climbs higher than it would have from either alone. Over years of this pattern, your morning glucose readings creep upward. Your fasting blood sugar drifts. Your hemoglobin A1C reflects the cumulative damage, and nobody connects the morning coffee timing to the gradual lab abnormalities. The optimal window for coffee is 60 to 90 minutes after waking. By that point, your natural cortisol has begun declining. The coffee's caffeine reaches its peak effect when your body is in the right hormonal state to use it without amplifying stress glucose. You get the alertness benefit without the metabolic cost. What this means in practice: if you wake at 6 a.m., your first cup should ideally be at 7 to 7:30, not 6:01. The 60 to 90 minute window is the difference between coffee that supports your blood sugar and coffee that fights it. The third principle: the food pairing. Coffee on a completely empty stomach can stimulate cortisol further and, in some people, irritate the stomach lining in ways that increase systemic inflammation. Inflammation is a contributor to insulin resistance, so while a small amount of coffee on an empty stomach is fine for most people, drinking it with even a modest amount of protein and fiber produces a more favorable metabolic response. What I recommend: pair your coffee with a small protein and fiber-based breakfast, 2 eggs and half an avocado, Greek yogurt with chia seeds and berries, a handful of nuts and a slice of whole grain bread. Any combination that includes 15 to 25 grams of protein and 5 to 8 grams of fiber. The food slows the caffeine absorption, blunts the cortisol response, and provides nutrients your body needs alongside the metabolic benefit of the coffee. What to avoid: coffee with a pastry, coffee with a bagel and jam, coffee with sweetened cereal, coffee with a muffin. These pairings deliver fast-absorbing carbohydrates with the caffeine, producing a glucose spike that erases every benefit the coffee compounds were going to provide. The standard American coffee and pastry breakfast is one of the most insulin-stressing meal combinations a person over 60 can choose. The fourth principle: the total daily amount. Research consistently shows that the metabolic benefits of coffee scale with consumption up to roughly 3 to 4 cups per day. Beyond that point, the benefits plateau and the side effects increase. Sleep disruption, elevated heart rate, anxiety, caffeine accumulation in older adults whose liver clearance is slower than in younger people. The right total: 2 to 3 cups of brewed coffee per day, all consumed before 2 p.m. Caffeine has a half-life of approximately 5 to 7 hours. A cup at 4 p.m. still has measurable caffeine in your system at 11 p.m. That fragments the deep sleep stages your body needs for overnight glucose regulation. Poor sleep produces worse insulin sensitivity the next day. The coffee that helped your metabolism in the morning becomes the cause of the metabolic damage at night if the timing is wrong. The fifth principle: the brewing method. Not all coffee brewing methods are created equal for blood sugar. Filtered coffee, drip coffee, or pour over with a paper filter removes most of the deuterpenes that can raise LDL cholesterol over time. Unfiltered coffee, French press, espresso, and Turkish coffee retains those compounds. For long-term cardiovascular and metabolic health in adults over 60, filtered coffee has the better profile. This does not mean unfiltered coffee is dangerous. Moderate use is generally fine. But if your goal is the maximum metabolic benefit with the lowest cardiovascular cost, the standard drip coffee with a paper filter is the safer choice for daily consumption. Decaffeinated coffee deserves a brief note. Coffee bean choice also matters. Lightly roasted beans contain higher levels of chlorogenic acid than darkly roasted beans because the roasting process partially breaks down the compound. If you want maximum metabolic benefit, choose a medium roast over a dark roast. The taste profile is different, but the chemistry favors the lighter end of the roast spectrum. Decaf retains most of the chlorogenic acid and polyphenol benefits because those compounds survive the decaffeination process. So if caffeine sensitivity is an issue for you, decaf still provides meaningful metabolic benefit. It is not a wasted cup. 5 principles. Let me consolidate them. Principle 1. Remove all added sugars and sweetened creamers. Use unsweetened cream, cinnamon, or cocoa instead. Principle 2. Drink your first cup 60 to 90 minutes after waking, not immediately. Principle 3. Pair coffee with protein and fiber, not pastries or sugary breakfasts. Principle 4. 2 to 3 cups daily total, all completed by 2 p.m. Principle 5. Choose filtered coffee from medium roasted beans for the best metabolic profile. What is your age? Drop it in the comments. Insulin sensitivity declines progressively after 60, and the relevant timing windows for blood sugar interventions become tighter with each decade. Your age helps me build content that targets exactly where you sit on this curve and informs the specific risks I cover for the audience watching. Now let me show you what is actually happening in your bloodstream when you do this correctly versus incorrectly. When you drink black filtered coffee on the right schedule, chlorogenic acid enters your intestine and inhibits an enzyme called alpha-glucosidase. This enzyme breaks down complex carbohydrates into glucose for absorption. By inhibiting it partially, chlorogenic acid slows the rate at which glucose enters your bloodstream after a meal. The post-meal spike that drives long-term insulin resistance becomes a gentler curve. Less stress on your pancreas, less work for your insulin response. This effect compounds across thousands of meals over years. The person who has been drinking coffee correctly with their meals for a decade has a measurably different glucose response curve than the person who has not. That difference is the difference between developing diabetes and avoiding it. The polyphenols in coffee work at the cellular level. They improve the responsiveness of insulin receptors on muscle and fat cells, meaning your body needs less insulin to do the same job. This is the opposite of insulin resistance, which is the underlying problem in type 2 diabetes. Polyphenol-rich coffee, consumed regularly over years, gradually improves insulin sensitivity in a way no medication can replicate without side effects. The mechanism is real. The evidence is published in major journals. The protocol is what most people get wrong, which is why most people miss the benefit even though they are drinking coffee every day. I had a patient, I will call him Howard, 67 years old, retired engineer. He came to me with a fasting blood sugar of 118, an A1C of 6.2, and a clear trajectory toward type 2 diabetes if nothing changed. His doctor had recommended starting metformin within 6 months if his numbers did not improve. When I asked Howard to walk me through his typical day, the first item was coffee. 2 large cups, both consumed within 20 minutes of waking. Each cup had 2 teaspoons of sugar and a flavored sweetened creamer. Breakfast was a bagel with cream cheese or, on busy days, just the coffee. Afternoon coffee at 3 p.m. with a cookie when his energy dropped. He described his coffee habit as one of the few things he genuinely enjoyed. I did not tell him to give it up. I told him to fix it. We changed the protocol. The first cup was moved to 7:30 instead of 6:15. The sugar and sweetened creamer were replaced with 2 tablespoons of unsweetened heavy cream and a generous shake of Ceylon cinnamon. Breakfast became 3 eggs and half an avocado, eaten alongside the first cup. The afternoon coffee was moved to 1 p.m. with the cookie replaced by a small handful of almonds. Total daily intake stayed the same, 2 cups, just at the right times with the right additions, paired with the right food. 3 months later, his fasting blood sugar was 96. His A1C had dropped to 5.7. His doctor canceled the planned metformin prescription. Howard had not given up coffee. He had not started a strict diet. He had not started exercising more than he already was. He had simply changed how, when, and with what he drank his existing morning beverage. Howard's case is not exceptional. It is exactly what the published research predicts when the protocol is followed consistently for 90 days. The compounds in coffee genuinely work. The protocol around them is what determines whether you receive the benefit or sabotage it. Now your action plan for the next 30 days. Step 1. For the next 3 days, track exactly how you drink your coffee. What time you wake up, what time you have your first cup, what goes into it, what you eat alongside it, how many cups total, what time you stop. This baseline tells you which of the 5 principles you are violating right now. Most patients are surprised by what they find when they document it honestly. The pattern that felt automatic for years becomes visible only when it is on paper. Step 2. Starting day 4, remove every added sugar, sweetened creamer, and flavored syrup from your coffee. Replace with unsweetened cream, cinnamon, or cocoa powder. Just this one change, even if you change nothing else, produces measurable improvements in fasting glucose within 2 weeks for most people. Step 3. Adjust your timing. Move your first cup to 60 to 90 minutes after waking. Set a reminder if you have to. The transition feels uncomfortable for the first week. Your body has been conditioned to expect coffee immediately. Push through. Within 7 to 10 days, the cortisol coffee desynchronization resolves and you will feel better waking up than you did with immediate caffeine. Step 4. Establish a coffee and protein breakfast pairing. Eggs, Greek yogurt, nuts and avocado, smoked salmon. Whatever protein and fat combination works for your taste. The pairing slows the caffeine response, blunts the cortisol curve, and stabilizes your morning glucose trajectory. Step 5. Cap your last cup at 2 p.m. Caffeine after that point compounds into your evening sleep window even if you do not feel it. Better sleep means better next day insulin sensitivity. The afternoon discipline is paying for the morning benefit. Get baseline lab work before starting the protocol if you have not had recent results. A fasting glucose, an A1C, and ideally a fasting insulin level. Repeat the tests after 90 days. The numbers will tell you whether the protocol is working for your specific physiology. Most patients see meaningful improvement within that window. A note on what does not count as following the protocol: skipping breakfast and just having coffee, sugar substitutes that promise 0 calories but disrupt your gut microbiome, adding just a little sweetened creamer. The half step does not work. The protocol is precise because the chemistry is precise. Either you follow it and benefit, or you compromise it and continue the pattern that has been quietly elevating your numbers for years. 3 mistakes I see repeatedly. First, switching from sugar to artificial sweetener and assuming the problem is solved. The artificial sweeteners disrupt glucose regulation through different mechanisms, but disrupt it nonetheless. Second, drinking coffee on an empty stomach indefinitely thinking it is healthier. For most people over 60, the protein-paired version produces better outcomes. Third, drinking decaf as a workaround for late-day cravings without realizing decaf still affects evening sleep through its remaining low-level caffeine and its bitter compounds that signal alertness. Avoid those 3. The protocol works as a system. Pulling out individual elements weakens the rest. Foods that work alongside this protocol because they support insulin sensitivity in their own right. Eggs, berries, leafy greens, nuts and seeds, avocados, olive oil, fatty fish like salmon and sardines, beans and lentils, cinnamon, apple cider vinegar in small amounts before meals. These foods amplify the metabolic benefit you are getting from your coffee protocol. Foods that work against it even outside the coffee context. White bread, sugary cereals, pastries, sweetened yogurts, soft drinks, fruit juices, chips and crackers, anything labeled low fat that has had sugar added back to compensate for the missing fat. These foods accelerate the same insulin resistance the coffee protocol is trying to reverse. Realistic timeline: days 1 through 7. Your sleep may improve as caffeine timing aligns with your circadian rhythm. Energy levels stabilize. Weeks 2 through 4. Subjective changes in afternoon energy crashes and post-meal sleepiness. Weeks 4 through 12. Measurable changes in fasting glucose and post-meal glucose if you are testing at home. Months 3 through 6. Hemoglobin A1C reflects the cumulative shift on lab work. This is not a 24-hour intervention. It is a 90-day protocol minimum to see whether your body is responding meaningfully. Most patients see substantial improvement within that window if they follow the protocol consistently. Some take longer, particularly if they have been insulin resistant for many years. Nobody at your annual physical is going to walk you through this conversation. The appointment is not built for it. The reimbursement does not support it, and the simpler answer for the system is to write a prescription and reschedule for 6 months later, by which point the natural intervention you could have tried has been replaced by a medication you may now need indefinitely. A clear note on when this protocol is not enough. If your A1C is above 8, if your fasting glucose is consistently above 130, if you have any symptoms of advanced diabetes, including unexplained weight loss, frequent urination, blurry vision, or numbness in extremities, you need medical care alongside lifestyle changes. The protocol supports treatment. It does not replace it for advanced disease. Mild and borderline numbers respond best. Advanced disease needs both. For everyone in the borderline or early stages, the coffee protocol is one of the most accessible, inexpensive, and well-tolerated interventions available. The morning beverage you already drink can become your most consistent metabolic support if you stop fighting against its chemistry. I am Nathan Hayes, and I have spent 15 years watching patients drink 3 cups of coffee a day and complain about their blood sugar without ever connecting the two. Howard avoided metformin. He did it with the same beverage he had been drinking incorrectly for decades. The compounds in your coffee can be working for you or against you every single morning, every single afternoon. The 5 principles I gave you today determine which one. Use them this week. Track your numbers in 90 days. The cup you wake up to tomorrow can be the start of a measurable change. If this video gave you something your doctor never explained, hit subscribe so the next person with the same numbers can find this protocol before they accept a prescription as their only option. Hit subscribe and the like button. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.